I'm giving out one bet for every single fight at UFC Atlanta. Boys, we are back in the win column after UFC 316. We hit 8 bets out of 12, maybe 13 fights. It was looking good for even more than that. We just missed a couple of plays, but we hit Cortez Acosta as the underdog of the week. Van versus Silva ends by finish at plus money. Mario Batista, my favorite play of the week. We screamed it all week long that he's the better fighter, should get this win. The only chance that he was losing is if they gave Patchy Mix a robbery decision, but Mario put on a clinic and did not give them any chance to do so. But I promise you guys a giveaway of Ghost Energy, hydration, protein, all that good stuff because of the bad week we had before. The random winner from the comments is Matthew Mule. His is at Matthew Mule 9004. So brother, if you're watching this, shoot me a comment. I'll be watching for it. We'll link up in the DMs. I'll get your address and get it shipped out to you. If you guys ever want to support me, I'm never going to ask for your money. I'm never going to accept your money. If you try to send me money, I'm sending it right back. But the one way you can support is by using my promo code on Better Picks. It's daily fantasy where you pick over-unders on significant strikes, takedowns, fantasy score, all that stuff. And when you use code Nolan, you'll get a 100% deposit match. And on their platform, I know a lot like Underdog, Prize Picks, you can win 20 times your money, 25 times your money. On Better, you can win 100 times your money. $100 would pay you $10,000 if you hit the 8 leg for 100x. So this is a great way to support me. It helps me out a lot. Code Nolan on Better Picks. I'll put the link in the bio. Make sure you sign up and get some money in your own pocket using that. All right, boys, without much further ado, let's just get into the fights. We'll cut promos for shit later. Vanessa Demopolous taking on Jamie Lynn Horth. Starting it out with an absolute banger. This one's tough to call. I think Jamie Lynn Horth should win, but she's minus 550. I would rather call the gambler's hotline than ever play a minus 550 in my entire life, especially on women's MMA. But, there's not a lot of great options on this fight. But I will tell you a few things about this fight that you might not know or you might, not even have thought of yet. But Vanessa Demopolous is usually fighting at 115 pounds. She just got mauled by a girl who's 5'0" nothing. And, she's moving up to 125 pounds against Jamie Lynn Horth here. Last minute replacement. Jamie Lynn Horth is 5'7". She's very big for this division. She's long. She uses her kicks well. I think Vanessa's going to have a hell of a hard time closing the distance and really getting her offensive game going. I don't really think she has a ton of power anyways to hurt Jamie Lynn Horth, and I don't think she's got the strength or size to take down Jamie Lynn Horth consistently to get a dominant position to look for submissions. In fact, Jamie Lynn Horth can land takedowns. She's landed them in 3 of her 4 UFC fights. Vanessa Demopolous just got mauled and taken down over and over by a jiu-jitsu girl in Talita Alencar. So if Talita can drag you down to the ground, I expect the 5'7", 125-pounder who's big for the division to be able to do so. I just don't really like the finishing equity for Jamie Lynn Horth. So first play on the card, we're taking Jamie Lynn Horth, and I'm going to take her by decision. Not a super fun play, not a super fun fight whatsoever, but we gotta take stuff while we can. All right, next fight up, Phil Rowe taking on Loosa. I'm not high on either of these guys, and it should be pretty obvious why. Loosa just went out against Brian Battle and was getting pieced up, got poked in the eye, and then quit, and then wanted to fight Brian Battle after he quit. It's like you couldn't fight 5 minutes ago to finish the fight, but now that it's stopped and you got 50 people in the octagon between you guys, you're ready to go. It just seemed like a way out of the fight for me from Loosa. And on the other hand, Phil Rowe seems to have problems getting his hands going in these spots where I don't know if he's just worried about the takedowns or the control time from Neil Magny that he wouldn't let him go and separate. And then, against Jake Matthews, he kind of got boxed up a little bit. Somewhat of a close fight down the stretch. Got taken down once. But, it just seems like he's a little bit hesitant or not super confident. The only difference between these two, for me, the one thing that I'm kind of keying in on, is that I think Phil Rowe's back's against the wall, and he knows with another loss or a bad performance, he's probably getting cut. And, that can either really mess with somebody's head or that can motivate somebody. And, this is kind of a buy low spot, but you're getting Phil Rowe at plus 110. He's 6'3" compared to Losa's 5'10". Like I said, he's got his back against the wall, needs a win in the worst way possible, has good striking, has good grappling. I think he matches Loosa wherever this fight goes. And, if it keeps it on the feet and he keeps it at range, he's going to be the one with the longer reach, the one with the better kicks, the better striking, to where I think he's going to be able to hit Loosa more. So he's the underdog right now. We're going to start it early on the card with an underdog pick. I'm going to take Phil Rowe for the second fight of the night at plus 110. Sketchy, I know, but, we gotta put some dogs out there on this card. All right, Ricky Simón, Cameron Smotherman. Again, there's no odds out yet on my book for this fight, but I have a few thoughts. Ricky Simón is a guy who I thought was kind of on the downhill trajectory, and maybe he is. Maybe he just had a good performance last fight. Loses pretty badly to Vinicius Oliveira, gets his leg kicked off, couldn't get the wrestling going whatsoever. But then he comes out against Javid Basharat, who's 14-1, never been finished, and just absolutely shuts the lights off, flatlines him with the right hand, okay? Super impressive. Shows that he's got some power in the hands for sure. And, he was very aggressive. Kind of like I think Phil Rowe should be. Ricky kind of had his back against the wall there, needed a win or a good performance, and he did exactly that. Now for Cam Smotherman, had a good debut against Jake Hadley, outlanded him, didn't show a ton of power or anything, showed decent volume and decent boxing. Absolutely laid an egg in his next fight, in his most recent fight, which was only like a month and a half ago, not even, just barely over a month ago. Cameron Smotherman fought Siri City. Siri City hit him with the bigger shots, took him down 5 times, had him in a deep submission attempt. Just not a good look overall for Cameron Smotherman. And, going up against Ricky, if you're getting taken down 5 times by Siri City, I've got a feeling Ricky's going to be able to implement that wrestling too. If Siri City's able to touch you up a little bit, I think Ricky Simón is going to keep him guessing with the takedowns enough to where it's going to open up Ricky striking a little bit too, and he's going to be able to land some damaging shots. And don't forget that Cameron Smotherman on the Contender Series got absolutely put out by Charalampos Gregoriao. Not a UFC caliber fighter whatsoever. And, if guys like that are putting your lights out, I think Ricky Simón could too. I'm going to take Ricky Simón. Not sure what his money line price is going to be. I'm going to guess he's going to be a decent sized favorite. So we'll take him for a little parlay piece. Haven't seen any odds or any, lines available for this fight yet, but we're going to rock with it. Got to give something for it. All right. Next fight, a little bit scrappier of a fight, one that might be somewhat evenly matched, but there's going to be a big youth discrepancy here. You got Jose Ochoa taking on Cody Durden. Jose Ochoa at 24 years old, Cody Durden 34 years old, and Cody Durden's been in some wars, man. I know these guys are flyweights. They don't hit as hard as these other weight classes, and they can take a little bit more damage, but, when you look at Cody Durden's last couple of fights, first of all, Joshua Van put on an absolute clinic against him, 165 significant strikes. Cody Durden didn't go out, but there was a couple times he was badly hurt. And, 165 significant strikes from Joshua Van is a lot of damage because, he's very precise, hits pretty hard like we saw him finish Bruno Silva just last week. That was another 24-year-old kid who has fast hands and good striking, kind of like Ochoa is. Before that, Cody Durden submits Matt Schnell. Okay, Matt Schnell just went out there against Jimmy Flick and had a competitive fight for the first couple of rounds. I'm not super high on Matt Schnell at this point, okay? Before that, Cody Durden's fighting well against Bruno Silva, was all striking. Took him down once. But Cody Durden was winning the striking battle. Bruno Silva came on in the second round and then knocked him out with an uppercut. And before that, Cody Durden's getting submitted by Tagir Ulanbekov. So these are high-level guys. Bruno Silva a little bit past his prime. Tagir Ulanbekov, not a bad loss whatsoever. But, I look at Jose Ochoa, and I think, okay, this is a shoot-to-box guy who has good grappling. We've seen it in fights. Had to make his debut against Lanier Kavanaugh. Matched Lanier Kavanaugh with his significant strikes. That was 51-50, on the stat sheet, where, Jose Ochoa had a deep submission attempt in that fight, and it was kind of a war, all out, back and forth. And I think Lanier Kavanaugh is a very good fighter who's going to be around the top 10 for a long time once he gets there. I think they should build him up slowly. I think he's a fun fighter with a lot of potential. And I think Jose Ochoa is a guy that shouldn't go 0-2 in the UFC for his first 2 fights. Now, he's another 24-year-old kid, like I said, like Joshua Van. Does he have the striking of Joshua Van? Absolutely not. Not many people do. But he's got the will. He's got the ability to march forward. He's got the speed. I think he comes out here and beats Cody Durden, man. Even if Cody Durden wants to go to the wrestling, you got to sit there and control Jose Ochoa to beat him. I think Jose Ochoa is good enough with the grappling. He's going to throw up submission attempts. We've seen Cody submitted a handful of times. And I think he's strong, slippery enough, quick enough, and strong enough to get back to his feet. And he's going to rinse and repeat. So I'm going to take Jose Ochoa to win this fight. Maybe the value's on Cody Durden at this point. I think it's kind of a value loser, if I'm being honest. I think Cody does have a path to victory, and it's obviously the wrestling. But, if that one thing fails, I think he's going to be at a striking disadvantage, and I think he's been through so many wars and damage that, I wouldn't put it past him to get, not be able to eat these bigger shots like he once was able to. Maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe he comes out here and mauls this kid. But I think this kid is going to be pretty damn good in the UFC. And I think we see a little bit stronger of a performance in this spot here. All right, speaking of guys that are going to be good in the UFC, Malcolm Wellmaker is welcoming back Chris Moutinho to the UFC. Malcolm Wellmaker just knocked out Cameron Simon at UFC Kansas City not that long ago. I was in the first row for that, and dude, that crowd went absolutely crazy. I've been to a lot of UFC events, and, there's a handful of moments I remember because how loud the crowd was. That knockout was one of them because it was just out of nowhere. First round, just absolutely flatlined him. And funny story, like I was sitting right where the fighters, leave the octagon. And so I was up close, just, a couple feet away from everybody passing out as they exited the octagon. And Cameron Simon is just looking at the crowd. And there's a couple of these little kids. There's like a girl and her little brother, and they're getting autographs and pictures with every fighter, win or lose. Even the losers were stopping and taking pictures with these little kids. And they asked Cameron Simon for a picture, and he looked right at them dead in the eyes and just stared at them as he walked by. And at first I was like, man, what a dickhead. Like, how do you not stop for these little kids? But I'm like, oh, he's concussed. Like, this dude has no idea where he's at right now. He's probably confused why there's little kids walking up to him out of this crowd. That was how bad that knockout was, and a testament to how powerful Malcolm Wellmaker is. Now, Chris Moutinho, people are going to say, yeah, he went out there against Sean O'Malley, lasted all the way to the last 30 seconds. The fight shouldn't have been stopped. He should have got to go to a decision with O'Malley. And I agree, but his next fight, people forget. He went out there and got knocked out by Guido Canetti in round number 1. Not the best look in the world. Guido Canetti was like a 40-year-old fighter at the time. But, he left the UFC and he did exactly what you're supposed to do to get back to this point. He went out there, got a win streak, was finishing everybody. I believe he's finished every opponent outside the UFC to get back to this point. The only problem is you're getting Malcolm Wellmaker, a guy who's going to be bigger, stronger, a good work ethic, gritty, and a hell of a lot more power than you. And Chris Moutinho has shown to be very hittable, if anything. Yes, he's a dog. Yes, he's willing to go in there and fight with you, but he gets hit way too much to be fighting Malcolm Wellmaker. So for this pick, I am going to go Wellmaker, and Moutinho does not start round 3. You can find it on most books. The over-under 1.5 was just a little sketchy to me. It's like, what if Moutinho can eat a few shots early and Wellmaker's just taking his time and feeling them out and then gets that later finish? But, I really don't think it goes past 2 rounds. I think he'll, wear him down at the least and then find a knockout if he doesn't just go out there and spark him. So fight doesn't start round 3. That is going to be the official play for this fight. And can't wait to watch Malcolm Wellmaker once again. All right, Michael Chiesa and Court McGee. This one is kind of the battle of the older guys, but, Michael Chiesa, 2-fight win streak, submitted Tony Ferguson and Max Griffin in his last fight. That's a good win right there against Max Griffin. Max Griffin's a guy a little bit older as well, but a guy who still seemed to have a little bit of fight left in the tank, whereas, Court McGee is 40 years old. Got a win over Tim Means, who's also 40 years old, or close to it at least, submitted him. But before that, losing decision to Alex Morono, losing to Matt Brown by a brutal knockout, Jeremiah Wells, brutal knockout. But before that, beating Ramiz Brahimaj when Brahimaj was on his little losing streak, Claudio Silva, and then he's losing to other guys who are decent before that. There just hasn't been anything too impressive out of Court McGee outside of submitting another older guy in Tim Means. But Tim Means is super submittable. If you can find a submission on Tim Means, he's going to absolutely give it to you every single time. Whereas, Michael Chiesa's got good wrestling and good jiu-jitsu as well. And I think he's going to just be faster, especially, if these two are locked onto each other up against the cage, I expect Michael Chiesa to be the one who's a little bit stronger at this point and is going to threaten more to find takedowns and get top control. And I really don't think you're submitting Chiesa off of your back if you're Court McGee. I think Court McGee, his path to victory is just going to keep it standing, and this fight should be somewhat close with the striking. If Court McGee gets taken down over and over, Michael Chiesa is very good with the submission game, like I mentioned, and I think his control time will be a little bit better here. The youth is barely on his side, but it just feels like Michael Chiesa's got a little bit more left in the tank than a Court McGee. So this one's pretty simple for me. I'm taking Michael Chiesa by decision or submission. It's a double chance bet because, I really don't think Chiesa is knocking anybody out or TKOing anybody. I think he will look for submissions if the fight hits the ground. And if he doesn't get that sub, I do think he'll have enough control time and land some okay shots on the feet or enough to get the decision win. So Michael Chiesa, double chance, decision, or submission. That's the play for this fight. All right, boys. Rodolfo Bellato versus Paul Craig. And I got to mention, too, these aren't in exact fight order. Everywhere's got the bout order a little bit different right now. So you may be wondering why. That's it right there. But Bellato versus Craig. Oh, man, I'm so tempted to take Paul Craig at big plus money for this show. But, when you do that, you run the risk of looking like an idiot. Because Paul Craig has gone out there, submitted guys way, way better than Rodolfo Bellato. Magomed Ankalaev, Jamal Hill, Nikita Krylov. I mean, for God's sakes, he should be able to submit Rodolfo Bellato, you would think. It's just, Paul is getting a little bit older now. He's taking some damage. He's not quite as aggressive with his submission attack, to me at least, as he was when he was submitting guys like Ankalaev. But I will tell you, Rodolfo Bellato doesn't have a whole lot of process on the feet. He just comes out swinging wildly, has a little bit of power, has some decent volume. But he gets tired, man. And if you get tired against Paul Craig and you think, all right, I'm just going to get this guy to the ground, lay in his guard, that's exactly when you get submitted. You'd think he's smarter than that, but I've seen dumber things happen in mixed martial arts. And, Bellato being a decent grappler himself, maybe he's got a little ego thing going like we've seen happen with guys, and he says, I can hang with him on the ground. I'm going to go down there. I got top control. And then Paul Craig pulls off this submission. While this is things on the feet, though, I think Bellato will be the one landing the more damaging shots with the hands, but I think Paul Craig can get the kicks going, kicks to the body, slow him down, leg kicks, all that stuff to make it somewhat even out. I'm just not 100% sure where this fight is going to take place, so it makes it hard for me to pick a prop or really pick a side when I'm kind of confused or having trouble realizing where it's going to take place. But I do think Paul Craig being able to go over a round and a half with Caio Bahayo and other guys, who are better than Bellato, gives me faith that he's not really going to go out there and get sparked by Bellato. We've never seen Bellato really come out here and spark anybody. Paul Craig is a tall guy. He has that high guard. Sometimes if you're not a phenomenal striker, he can be a little bit tougher to put away. And again, if you take him down, he's got good jiu-jitsu. He's hard to submit. I'm taking over 1.5 rounds here. I don't really like this fight. It was supposed to happen a few weeks ago. I was kind of lost on what to do with it then. But yeah, my final conclusion, over 1.5 rounds, could end up just being a fight up against the cage where Paul Craig's trying to survive in the first round and Bellato uses a little bit too much energy, and then Paul Craig starts having tiny little moments in that second and maybe leading into the third. It's a whole different fight. You never know. So over 1.5 rounds, but I will always have a Paul Craig submission bet when he is fighting because we've seen him pull it out of his hat so many times, and it's plus 650, so there's some value there. But over 1.5 is going to be the official one. All right. Next fight up, we're getting Umar C taking on Alonzo Menifield. Now, Alonzo Menifield just went life and death with a guy who was making his UFC debut, who's a former Division II basketball player, only like 6 professional fights, wasn't fighting anybody high level. The guys he was fighting were a lot older before the UFC. And, Alonzo Menifield went tooth and nail to a very close decision with him as well. Do I think Menifield has the ability to knock out Umar C? Possibly, but, Alonzo Menifield, each fight seems to be getting more tired and more tired earlier in the fight. I mean, I look at I look at his fight against Julius in his last one, man. He was huffing and puffing after a few minutes. He's just lucky that Julius was as well, and he was able to land a few extra bigger shots. I mean, I look at him against, who was it? What's his name? The Australian, Jimmy Crute. Man, he was so tired. He had that fight won, but he just didn't have enough gas in the tank to really get himself to the promised land. I hated seeing that. I had a bet on him in that fight. It went to a draw. I mean, it was right in his hands, and he really just didn't have enough to finish it. Loses badly to Carlos Ulberg. I mean, Dustin Jacoby, he won that fight because he had a late knockdown where Jacoby outlanded him by 30 or 40 significant strikes, and he looked tired there too. I just don't really, I don't know, man. I will give him credit that he came back and submitted Jimmy Crute, and then Jimmy Crute retired right after that fight. But the draw I was talking about was the fight directly before that. I look at Umar Sy, though, and he's 6'4". He's a big guy. He throws decent volume on the feet, even though his game plan so far has been to get guys to the ground, look for submissions. He submitted 2 Kotokos on the Contender Series, or not the Contender Series, sorry, his UFC debut. And I think a lot of people were disappointed that he didn't finish Da-Un Jung because they had him, I knew a lot of people that were on that Umar Sy submission prop because Da-Un Jung was going to want to keep it on the feet. You knew Umar Sy was going to get him down to the ground at least once or twice and should be able to find the neck, and he just couldn't quite do it. Did land the takedowns, landed some ground and pound, but couldn't put him away. The difference here is that I think he can put Alonzo Menifield away. I actually think that if he gets on top of Alonzo Menifield, Umar Sy is going to be so much better than him down there to where he's going to be able to tee off if he wants. And if Alonzo makes one mistake or is way too tired, that Umar Sy is just going to jump on the neck and find the submission. So, yeah, I'm going to take this fight as a parlay piece to end by finish just because you never know with Alonzo Menifield, man. He can nuke guys in that first round. We've seen him do it. We've seen him do it late, too. Even when he is tired, he's always swinging. I just think Umar Sy is going to be too good to catch in that situation after the first round. After the first round, if Alonzo Menifield gets tired, he's going down to his back. He's going to get controlled submission attempts and ground and pound. I expect one of these guys to finish this fight. My guess would be Umar Sy, but if Alonzo Menifield gets it done, we cash the bet too. Next fight, Mansour Abdul-Malik and Cody Brundage. I've seen people taking Cody Brundage. The odds are a little bit wild. I will agree with that. Minus 800 for anybody in MMA, I will always argue against. The problem here is that Cody Brundage, I don't want to say he's past his prime because he's not an old guy or anything like that. It's just, even in his last win against Julian Marquez, he had to face a lot of adversity. And just thankfully, Julian has no chin. Cody was on the verge of being finished himself. He was the one with his back against the cage, getting his mouthpiece knocked out, kind of hands on the knees, just waiting for that last shot. The ref stops it to put the mouthpiece back in, and Cody just gathered just enough energy to throw one shot to change the whole entire fight. If the ref doesn't do that, I really do believe Julian Marquez was getting his hand raised by first round finish. Bad news for Cody here is that Mansour Abdul-Malik can match that intensity early, hits a lot harder than Julian Marquez, is a lot better chin than Julian Marquez, and can go to the wrestling with Cody if that's what Cody thinks his path to victory is. And I think Mansour, I think this dude is going to be very good in the UFC. I think he's got good power in the hands. He's shown to have good ground and pound like he did against Dusko Todorovic. He has the wrestling in his back pocket. Could he find a submission? Sure. And you know what? If he does, it's fine with me because I'm taking Abdul-Malik to finish the fight in round 1, which is going to be right around plus 100, even money. And I might sprinkle something on round 2. I'm going to even out my money so where no matter what round 1 or round 2 hits, we're making money. I really don't think this thing goes past 2 rounds just because the gas tank of Cody Brundage and the ability, or not the lack of ability to take damage. I just think Mansour is going to come out like a bat out of hell, hit him with big shots, take him down if he needs to, defend the takedowns, and just keep teeing off until the ref stops the fight. So round 1 finish or round 2 finish, those are going to be the plays for this fight. I really think 1 hits. All right, next up, Cody Garbrandt versus Raoni Barcelos. And, Cody People call him a one-hit wonder. He won the title against Dominic Cruz with a good performance and all, but, kind of fallen off after the knockout losses to TJ Dillashaw. And, the problem for me with Cody has never really been the chin or the striking defense. It's just the situations he puts himself in the octagon. It's like he gets hit one time and the whole game plan or composure, everything just kind of goes out the window. Kai Kara-France knocked him out. Rob Font pieced him up so badly just because he came out just wanting to have an absolute all-out war. And, I think Pedro Munhoz is kind of the same way, to be honest, and he knocked him out. I think after the Dominic Cruz fight, he's on top of the world. He's a young champion, and he comes in there and gets sparked by TJ Dillashaw. I think it made him so damn angry that he just tried to go in there and get it back with every single fight that came his way. So he gets knocked out by TJ again, gets knocked out by Pedro Munhoz, knocks out Rafael Assunção, who's older and hittable, and then falls right back into that trap of, a little bit overconfidence and not much composure. The guys he's beaten, man. Brian Kelleher, a lot of you guys watching this show could knock out Brian Kelleher. Trevin Jones had him hurt there at the end and landed some big shots. And that was a super boring fight with neither guy cracked 30 significant strikes on the night. So, if Raoni Barcelos comes out here with a high pace, I think Cody's going to, back up in this fight and be a little bit hesitant, because I don't think he does want to get knocked out or finished again. And if Barcelos wants to go to the wrestling and does get Cody down, we just saw Divas and Figueiredo submit him. I mean, Cody will always have some good speed and decent pop in his hands, so he's always going to be live to knock somebody out. I just think at this point it's getting a little bit tougher and tougher for him, especially taking all this damage now. And Barcelos has some knockouts on his resume. We saw what he just did to Peyton Talbot. Used good striking, matched him in that department, but took him down and absolutely mauled him. If he puts Cody Garbrandt in those situations that he put Peyton on the ground, I think Barcelos is going to be live for a submission here. Either way, both these guys are going to have pass to knock the other one out or find a submission if you're Barcelos. So my play for this fight is going to be Garbrandt and Barcelos to end inside the distance or end by finish at plus 100. These are guys that have made mistakes in fights before that have cost them, but guys that are also very potent finishers in their own right. So I think this one gets finished, boys. Next fight up, Edmen Shahbazyan versus Andre Petroski. It's almost shocking that Edmen is 27 years old, right? I mean, he had a career earlier on in his 20s when he got to the UFC. I think his first fight was, May of 2019. So yeah, he's in his early 20s when he fought Charles Byrd in his debut, won the fight by TKO. But since then, he beat Brad Tavares by KO, Jack Marshman, but then he goes on this little bit of a losing streak, kind of got thrown into deep waters with Derek Brunson. That's a 2020 Derek Brunson, by the way, who was winning fights. Loses to Jack Hermanson, great fighter. Nasruddin Imavov, great fighter. Lost to Anthony Hernandez. Everybody knows what Fluffy Hernandez is doing right now. GM3. So, I mean, this guy's getting big names, great fighters, and, he's, early 20s to mid-20s at that point. Took a little time coming back, had a great win over AJ Dobson, had a great win over Dylan Budka, where he just absolutely sparked him in the first round. So I think Edmen Shahbazyan's a guy who's still learning, he's still getting better, and he's going to start coming into his own sooner or later. He's got the striking, he's always had the striking, has a lot of power in his hands. Where Edmen Shahbazyan is, gets a beat a lot of times is if he gets tired and he gets taken down. Could Andre Petroski do that here? I mean, he's kind of got the game for it. Andre Petroski, my only issue with him is that he doesn't really seem to have the best cardio himself. I mean, I look at some of Andre's wins. You look at his last win, first of all, which was a great win against Rodolfo Vieira. But Vieira looked awful as far as the cardio goes. And, Andre Petroski, if you're going to go out there and outstrike a guy in Rodolfo Vieira, whole different ball game than a guy like Edmen Shahbazyan. Before that, Andre Petroski took down Dylan Budka 3 times in that fight in each round and just laid on him, man. All that controlled time with only 23 significant strikes against Dylan Budka. There's a few times in the second round Dylan Budka was piecing him up on the feet until Petroski found the takedown. Before that, 3-round decision against Josh Frim. 3 takedowns, 1 in each round. 12 significant strikes Andre landed in that fight with all that control time. Knocked himself out against Jacob Malkoun. Gets knocked out by Michel Pereira. If Andre can't get the takedowns here against Edmond, he's in deep shit, if I'm being honest. Because Andre does slow down. If you, give him resistance and you're not easy to take down and you're landing knees and elbows, Andre Petroski will slow down. And as the fight goes on and he can't get the takedowns, he's just kind of a sitting duck, especially against a guy like Edmond Shahbazyan. Also a guy, I will say, I think Edmond, like I said, is getting better. I think the takedown defense will get better too with time and more experience. And he's had experience now. I think it's going to hold up. I think he's going to land big shots. I think he could finish this fight, but I'm taking Edmond Shahbazyan for the pick. Yeah, for the play, for this fight, the bet. All right. Next fight up, Thug Rose Namajunas versus Miranda Maverick. This one's kind of shocking to me because these girls seem to train together a whole bunch just as early as last December. They're posting pictures with each other on Instagram all the time. Same camp, all that stuff. And someone told me that it was Rose Namajunas that accepted this fight first, which tells me she sees something in the training room that makes her think she can win this fight for sure. She's confident enough to take it, even though it's her former friend and training partner. A little bit of not too much of a contrast to styles. I think Rose obviously is going to be the better striker. Rose has grappling as well. But Miranda Maverick kind of uses her striking to get in close. She's going to look for takedowns. She's shorter. She's, a lot more compact and probably more physical than Rose Namajunas. Rose didn't look great in her fight against Erin Blanchfield after that third round. Maybe after the second, midway through that third round, I guess. Yeah, midway through the third, where Erin Blanchfield kind of took over. Rose, I didn't ever think she had cardio issues, but, after watching that, and then even watching against Tracy Cortez, where Cortez was coming back in the later rounds, it makes me wonder a little bit. But the thing here with Miranda Maverick is this is a 3-round fight. Rose Namajunas always fights really, really well in rounds 1 and 2. She's going to be the better striker. She's going to be craftier, have more ways to hit Miranda Maverick. I think that'll be enough to win her the fight. I don't think Miranda Maverick is finishing Rose Namajunas. Very hard to submit, hard to knock out. Miranda Maverick, does she possess either one of those skill sets to submit or knock out Rose? I don't really think so. I think she's going to get touched up a little bit in the early going. So, but just in case, the judges are on some bullshit, I'm going to take this one as a parlay piece. I'm taking Rose and Miranda to go the distance. It's just, it's a sketchy line on Rose Namajunas, knowing what we saw in her last fight, and Miranda Maverick, still younger, getting better and improving, and these two have trained together. There's so many weird factors to where I don't think these girls are going to be looking to hurt each other all that much, being that they're former friends, and so this fight to go the distance just seemed to make sense as a parlay piece for me, so that's what we're playing here. All right, boys, main event time. Joaquin Buckley, Kamaru Usman. Oh, man, I've had so many thoughts on this fight. First of all, I think Buckley's phenomenal for this division. I think he's a guy who's going to stick around for a long time. He's coming into his own, hitting his prime, super physical, hits super hard, striking's getting better. He can wrestle and grapple a little bit. But, Kamaru Usman is a guy, former champion, dominated guys when he was in his championship run. But he is, getting up there in age. Everybody talks about how bad his knees are. I mean, you hear it from everybody. But, man, the thing that I don't really like is all these long layoffs in between fights. Yes, he's fought high-level guys like Khamzat Chimaev. But he just, the volume isn't exactly there. He throws a decent jab, but his striking just hasn't looked the same. It's not like it was when he knocked out Jorge Masvidal or anything like that. He took that head kick against Leon Edwards. Since then, he hasn't won that many fights. And when you do go look at his record, he's on a how many fight losing streak? Is it 3? Yeah. Khamzat Chimaev, Leon Edwards, and Leon Edwards. I mean, that head kick that happened in 2022, he's only fought twice after that. Not an active guy, older, knee problems, injuries, all that stuff, versus a guy who is up and coming, hungry as hell to get to that title, and is very, very explosive. More explosive than Kamaru is right now. Has wrestling in his back pocket. I don't think it's going to be easy for Kamaru Usman to take down Buckley for 5 whole rounds, but I think it will be easy for Buckley to find the chin a little bit and outland Kamaru Usman with the striking. Not that it's no disrespect to Kamaru's striking. I think he is a good striker. He's accurate. He just, older, man. It catches up to everybody. He's 0-3 in his last 3 fights, regardless of who he's fighting. Everybody. I mean, look at Gilbert Burns. He's 0-3 in his last 3 fights. All the guys at 170 who used to, Leon Edwards, 0-2 or 0-3 in his last couple. All these guys that used to be at the top of the division are phasing out right now. And I don't think Kamaru Usman's any different. Where you have Joaquin Buckley on a 6-fight winning streak at welterweight. I think Buckley has found his weight class. I think he's going to be a contender. He's a tough out for anybody, especially an older fighter, because it's hard to keep up with a guy that wiry, that explosive, and who can knock you out and wrestle you up too. So I'm taking Joaquin Buckley to win this fight by knockout or decision double chance. That's what it's got to be, because I'm having a hard time thinking can Usman hang in there and take these shots, or is Buckley just going to cruise to a decision victory? I don't know where Usman is exactly at. We haven't seen him for 2 years. Before that, it was, Leon Edwards. We know how those fights went. So be interested to see where Kamaru's at. I just think Buckley's got more in the tank right now. More ways to win. I think he gets it done, boys. I think he gets it done. Those are the picks and the plays. Those are the bets for every fight at UFC Atlanta. I hope we hit another 8 or 9 or 10 bets on this card. Keep the streak going. Again, if you're in the comments right now for Matthew Mule, hit me up. I will get to you. I will ship you out your ghost products that you want in the giveaway. If for some reason this card goes south and we don't hit that many bets, I'll be doing another giveaway of ghost products worth a couple $100. Appreciate all of you guys once again who show up week in, week out. The views have been super consistent. I'll do another giveaway if this video hits 10,000 views. We're consistently hitting either 8 to 8.5 thousand. So if this thing gets to 10,000, we will definitely do another one to show my appreciation for all you guys who show up every single week. It means a lot. If you want to get all my premium plays, go to winnable.com/HOF picks. And if you use code Atlanta, you're going to get a 5-day free trial. You're going to see all of my bets, all of my boy Hayjive picks bets. You'll get access to our Discord. We've got a free section with a bunch of cappers giving their plays, and that paid section with me and Hayjive. You'll get access to it for 5 days with code Atlanta, so make sure to do that. Shout out to the sponsor of the show, BetUS. It is a book that you can use in 49 of the 50 states. If you need a sports book when you're in California, Texas, Florida, whatever state you're in, and you don't have access to the DraftKings and FanDuel, BetUS is an option for you. Your first deposit, they're matching up to 150%, and your next to it 125%. Just make sure you check out their rollover policy before you do all that, and are surprised that you have to play a certain amount before you take money out. But again, I'm going to link that down below with the promo code to get those deposit bonus if you choose that you want them. Again, shout out BetUS for sponsoring this show every single week. And the last thing I'll say, boys, if you do want to support me, I'm never going to ask you guys for donations or anything. I won't accept them. But you can go and use my promo code on Better Picks. It's a 100% deposit match bonus for you, and it's giving you a chance. First of all, an extra money to make money, but it's a chance for you to put money in your pocket too. Just using code Nolan on Better Picks helps me out a ton. I can't wait for this summer, man. We have so many fights. We got the card with Jamal Hill and Khalil Roundtree next week. We got UFC 317 after that. We are just loaded up with fights for this summer. So once again, thank you guys so much. It means a whole lot to me. I'd be absolutely nothing in this game without all of you. Can't wait to hit some bets this weekend. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, drop a like, drop a comment, and we'll see you guys next week in the next UFC video.